The issue we want President-elect Joe Biden and the new Congress to address is homelessness due to COVID-19 and affordable housing. Due to COVID, there are millions of jobs being lost, and the increasing homeless population has spiked steeply. The second stimulus bill that was signed into law by Congress will be greatly influential and will provide help to families across the country. However, it is less than half the size of the original bill. Because of this, there isn't as much funding provided to keep Americans out of homelessness.
This is a very serious problem and one that I think is solvable in our country. You know, if a place like Tokyo, which has more people than New York City, can solve homelessness, then certainly we have the capacity to do so too. But we really must understand the reasons behind the homelessness. There's a direct correlation with the amount of regulatory barriers, home prices, apartment prices, and homelessness. And we need to be willing to face that. We can't solve this problem by just throwing money at it. We really have to look at the etiology of the problem.
What we want President Biden and Congress to do is sign and pass more bills that help create more affordable housing. Access to affordable housing is critical to help prevent homelessness because it helps provide safe places to stay while people get back on their feet. We also want new laws to continue the freezes on evictions and provide more support to the unemployed. With so much going on these days, we were very lucky to get time with our Senator, Jack Reed. We interviewed him about his office's current initiatives and new ways to help homeless families get back on their feet. Here are his thoughts.
Well, we've just passed the latest COVID legislation, and we included in that legislation an extension of unemployment benefits for 11 weeks, plus a $300 a week increase in unemployment benefits, which is absolutely critical because the traditional benefits that are available are not adequate in many cases for families to survive, make difficult choices between paying the rent, buying groceries, and just getting around.
Fortunately, there are some ways to help bring the population of homelessness down in America. Some small ways are to donate money to homeless shelters and volunteer at events for the homeless.
To learn more about how Rhode Island elected officials are working to reduce the spike of homelessness during COVID-19, we spoke with Congressman Jim Langevin. Here's what he had to say about homelessness and how it is impacting job security and affordable housing.
The price, the lack of affordable housing is a major problem in supply and demand. That, you know, when supply is too low, then prices are up. It means it's out of reach for many families.
Some bigger ways to help are to support local, state, and federal funding, going towards raising the minimum wage and also creating more homeless shelters and making it easier to buy a house.
You have people, if they're just earning the minimum wage, they can't afford even a 2-bedroom apartment in Rhode Island. They'd have to earn twice the minimum wage to be able to afford that. And so we need to address the minimum wage and see that rise. Many people have talked about increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour, which I support.
Millions of people across the country have been affected by homelessness. In 2019, there were 53,000 homeless people in the United States on a given night, and around 553,000 people are considered homeless in the United States at least once every year. Of these numbers, 35% are unsheltered, and because of COVID, these numbers have drastically increased. Millions of Americans have suffered because of the pandemic, and there hasn't been enough funding to help the problem from the federal government. That is why this issue is so important.
When you talk about over 4,000 people in a given year, 4,000 families might experience homelessness. That's just a heartbreaking number.
On a higher note, landlords are unable to evict renters through the end of January. This is helping keep the homeless population in some parts of the country down and providing people who are unemployed a place to stay. In our state, Rhode Island has made an additional $5 million in emergency rental assistance available to low-income renters who have been impacted by the COVID-19 emergency and are at immediate risk of homelessness.
Unfortunately, unless Congress signs new law by the end of January, millions of people will be evicted
From their homes and become homeless. In Rhode Island, the government allows those who qualify to receive a grant of up to $5,000 to support past due rent payments and other fees.
There's still a lot of hope in Rhode Island and the rest of the world that we will get through this pandemic and get to the end of the tunnel.
Millions of people will be employed again, and shelters will be able to hold greater capacities of people.
In conclusion, we want Joe Biden and the new Congress
to address homelessness due to COVID-19 and the shortage of affordable housing.
Thank you for watching.